So for step 31, attaching the bumper. Well, we've got to attach the bumper to the chassis, and we're going to be adjusting the steering linkage. And you can see here, they're wanting you to actually have them in a little bit on either side, and they're showing you we're going to need to spin these to make that happen. So the original length that we made each of these rods is actually going to be out. Because I noticed with mine, these are actually pretty straight as they are, which I would normally leave, but for some reason they want to turn them in. Now the other thing of note is they want you to apply thread lock to this screw going into the front. I'm not going to be doing that. I do not like thread lock. I've said this in many videos, and it's just not something I'm going to do. If for some reason I find this is a problematic spot and it keeps wanting to come loose, then maybe I will. But for now, I'm not going to. So we'll set this up and let's put this together. So let's look at the steering first. And just because of the placement of the camera, I'm going to do this opposite of what you see. So you can see that they want the uprights turned slightly inward. So if we were to look at this one on this side, you can see that that's pretty much straight across, and based on what they're wanting it to tilt in just a bit, so it would need to come forward. So if we were to do that, we are going to have to turn this backwards a bit to give it more length, so that we then have a little bit more of a turn. So I'm going to turn this again one more turn. So I think that's got a good enough, it's now slightly turned forward. So I think that'll be fine. So knowing that, let's put this ball connector on. So that's slightly forward. And then on this side, you can see again, it's not, I mean, there is a little bit of forward on that, but not that much. So maybe I'll twist this out 1 or 2 notches, and that will give it a little bit of a turned in, a bit more of a toe in. It's not by much, but I can make some final adjustments with the servo placement as well. So I think we'll go with that. So let's pop this on. There we go. So if I turn this over, you can see that it's slightly forward, and this side is slightly forward as well. So I think I'm happy with that. So that's that part done. Now, for the bumper, if we do it more or less the same way as they're showing, there is a little one that's got to go into the front, and then on this side, there is a hole for a screw that's going to screw into the bumper. And you'll see for this way, the way they're placing this is going to go on top of there, and you can see that there's this piece right here, which is going to sit over top. Now the interesting thing is, notice that this had a hole that was open so you could see what was going on with the servo. When you put the bumper on, you still have access to the servo. And maybe that'll change later, but I'm a little surprised that it's open. You know, just because of dirt and debris, but maybe there's another reason for that. I'm not sure. So let's get the bigger screw in place. So this has to sit there, which means the screw, and if I was to turn this around so it's easier to see, that bigger screw is going in from the top here and screwing into the bumper. So I will hold it here with my finger and we'll screw that down. Now, just because I want to make sure the other one goes in okay too, let's turn this around again. And obviously you can see here, there's the little screw. They're showing the thread lock, which I'm not going to do. And then we have a washer. So let's find that hole. And if you remember, that hole that we're finding is that little metal piece that we put onto the gearbox when we were building it in the first place. And that's how the screw is going to sit. So let's grab that, make sure that's going to go in okay, which it is. Voila. So that is in place, but we're going to screw the other one down tight now, because we know that that's worked. So let's get this one in place. Okay, so that's nicely on. So let's just do a final check on the front piece. Yes, that's nice and tight. So the front bumper for this step is on. Now you can see that it really is protecting the front shock, and it's a pretty extensive bumper, so I like that. The only thing is, you'll notice when we put the screw into this side, which is holding one side of the bumper on, there is another hole right here that would do the same, and you can see that we've not actually attached it. But I think there must be something to that at a later date, because they're only showing you putting the one screw in for now. So step 31 is complete, and we will now move on to step 32, and we're going to attach the stabilizer.